Okay, so hello universe. Today I'm going to be doing the first part in a series of tutorials on how to use Unity, and today I'm going to show you how to get your basic project or game or whatever set up and use the terrain feature, make it like a terrain for your game. So you'll start just by opening Unity. I've already done that. Just go into New, and I'll make a new project. I am going to call this terrain example because that's what I'm using it for. And I'm going to change the location, yada yada yada. I think the default is just documents, but move it over there. And you're going to want to keep that at 3D and asset packages. So these are basically like a bunch of files that they already have pre-made for you. To Like, for example, the environment one includes a lot of the stuff for terrain and stuff like that, a bunch of textures and images and all that stuff. So I'm going to need the environment one. Just for convenience, I'm going to grab the character, just because that's nice to be able to drop a first-person character and walk around in it to see it. And I think that'll be good. You can also download asset packages from the store and stuff like that. So those are some ones I got. But you only need to select characters and environment, and characters is optional, but I like it just to have on hand. You can download them to your project later, but yeah. So I'm going to select those and create the project. So here's the part where you wait a long time for it to make your project, and we should have the little window come up any second now where it's importing all the assets and setting up the files and whatnot. And I'm just going to pause the video because everybody knows how that works. You just sit there and wait. So I'll start it again when it's over. Bye. Okay, so once everything's imported and everything, the Unity window should come up and it should look like this. Sometimes this will mess up and it'll look like this, but that's just because 2D accidentally got hit or something like that. It just happened to me right now, even though I clicked 3D when I set it up, which is kind of weird. So anyway, here is your default scene in Unity, and this is basically, well, in Unity they have scenes, which are levels, and then the project is pretty much the whole game. So the project we just made, terrain example, is the whole game, and then you can have scenes within it. There are levels, and then you can use scripts to like move around between different levels and stuff like that. So here's the default scene, main camera and everything. So to get started out of our terrain, you're going to go to Create, 3D Object, Terrain. Then this will make this blank terrain. And this is basically an object that you can use tools to deform the height and stuff like that to make mountains and paint textures on to make it look like grass and rocks and all that stuff. So now that you've got your terrain, you're gonna first of all, you can go over here to paint textures, and it's got this little paintbrush icon, and there's no terrain textures defined, so you go to Edit Textures, Add Texture, and here you have the albedo, however you pronounce it. This is just like what it looks like. This is the image file that it uses to make what it looks like it's grass or something like that. And here's the normal, which is an image that pretty much gives it gives like the texture of it, like how bumpy it is or different stuff like that. And that's another image, and sometimes you'll use that, sometimes you won't. But so this is a lot of the default images that we got when we imported the environment stuff. So if you look down here, we've got Grass Hill albedo, and we're going to use that, and this will just give us a little grass texture to play with. So you can use your paintbrush, whatever you want, to go through and paint this. Okay, It's really dark. And I think that's because I think I went to window lighting. If it's weird like that, you can go to window lighting, and this was because of some settings that I had for my game called Dora, but you can fix that in here so it's not so dark. And so here we have our grass texture, and you can go and add another texture. So you go edit textures, add texture, and this time we can, how about this mud rock over here? So we've got that one has a normal too if you look in here. So that's what a normal map looks like, and we'll add that. So I'll just paint a little strip of it to show you what it looks like. We can make a little path along here if we want, like so. So if you go down here and look at this, okay, there's a pretty big difference. Well, it's kind of hard to notice sometimes, but between when there's no normal map and when there is one. So I'll just go in here and take it off. Well, I guess I don't think it renders in the scene view, but anyway, it makes it bumpy. And so if you really want to see what your terrain looks like, you can go down here, standard assets, characters, first person character, prefabs. And prefabs are basically objects that you have stored in the files for your game that pretty much it's like an object that you can drop into any level, and it has all this data attached to it already. Like if you look up here, we've got a character controller, that's what makes it move, and here's the script attached to it that controls it. There's a rigid body to make it interact with the physics and everything, audio source for the steps. And so if you take that FPS controller, you're just going to drag it onto the scene. Now if you double click up here, it'll take you to it. This is what is actually in your scene. This is what's in your project. So this is the files for your game. This is the stuff from the files for your game that's actually in your individual level. So we're going to take that FPS controller. You can drag up the height a little bit so it's not in the floor. Oh, most important thing I almost forgot. To move around, you're probably confused already. You can hold down the middle mouse button and move your mouse around. That'll pan. Hold down the right mouse button, move around. That'll let you look around. So it's kind of hard to get used to, but it's a lot faster. Okay, so now if you hit play, it'll take you to the game view, and since you have that first person controller in there, you can look around and move and see your map. So that's just basically how you paint the textures and everything. Now, the main important thing about terrains is that you can adjust the terrain. So if you go down here to raise or lower terrain, and then there's paint height, but we're not going to deal with that. Okay, so raise or lower terrain, then you can use a brush to push this terrain up into a 3D shape. So let's say we want to have a mountain on the side of this road, then we'll just, whoa, okay. Control Z to undo, very important. You're going to be using that like every 10 seconds. So now if we hit play, you can see that right there we've got the mountain coming along. And now if you hit play, and look around, you'll see your mountain, and you can actually climb that and everything. I don't think I'm going to bother. Well, maybe. Yeah, okay. I'll try climbing it. It'll take a little bit of time to get there, but if it's too steep a slope, the script that they have for the character controller will block you from walking up it. That is one thing. That you can jump up it, which is kind of a glitch. And of course you can write your own character controller scripts and all that, but that'll be later. So there you go, you can climb your mountain, whatever. So there's a whole lot of tools for that. First of all, you can change the brush size here, and that just makes your brush smaller, so you can do some more fine details instead of like this, so it's bigger. You can go all the way down to little teeny tiny stuff. Okay. And then there's also a bunch of different brushes, and so like this, for example, I'll make it a pretty moderate brush size. Now it's a star, and you can make little star-shaped mountains if you want that, or there's a ton of different ones. And I don't think you can do your own, maybe you can, but that's useful sometimes. And different size brushes, and all kinds of stuff, so you can just play around with that. And the opacity, and pretty much what that does is, like, right now if I go down here and just press with this brush, move it around, okay, it gets pretty tall pretty fast. Move it to like halfway, it won't get tall so fast, so it'll be easier to kind of model it without messing up and making stuff like way taller than everything next to it and stuff like that. If you do that, you can hold shift while you're clicking your mouse around and dragging it to lower the terrain, and that won't lower it below ground level, that like initial plane that it started with. So pretty much that's how the terrain works. And if you go down here, there's detail objects, and what these are is if you want to have flowers or something like that, it will pretty much, you can set up an object. I'll go in here to edit details, add grass texture. So we can like go in here, and they have some pre-done for you, like right here. I'll take this grass frond. Okay. And what this does is you can draw grass. So if you look in here, whoa, okay, don't mess up on it. Okay. So like if I'm drawing it right here, instant grass, but that is a ton of grass. So pretty much you don't want to put too much of that stuff because you're going to crash your computer and the game is going to be like crazy low frame rate and everything. So what you have to do is go in here and drop the opacity down to like pretty low. And remember to zoom in so you actually see it, and don't drag your brush around, just like click. And see, you get nice little pretty grass. And it does uses some algorithms to give you like different variations on the color so it looks like real grass. And so I'm just gonna drop this over here. You can't see it if you zoom until you zoom in close enough, but so when we hit play, we'll load the game, and we have a wonderful little field of grass. And there's all kinds, you can make your own textures to use, and by the way, texture is just a fancy word for image. You use like PNG, I think, is the main one that they use. And look, it even blows in the wind. Isn't that cool? That's a lot of grass. And you can do flowers and all kinds of stuff. So, trying to think what else is here. You can do trees, and add tree. Okay, so this is a little more complicated to make your own, but if you look in here, because you imported the environment package, you can grab like palm tree, add it, and if you zoom in and click, okay, there we go. So if you hit play, you'll magically see a whole field of palm trees, and there's all kinds of parameters over here for you to use, like the brush size and everything. But so there we go, and you can play around with the settings to make it look better. This is kind of tacky, but you get the idea. And they can go up the mountains and everything, make everything look pretty. Yep. So that's pretty much basically how to add a terrain in Unity, and I'll have some more tutorials coming up to help you get started with scripting and physics and all kinds of stuff in here. So bye.